Welcome to the 23rd episode of the Motorcycle Industry Council's ongoing Symposium series. Today's board spotlight features a conversation between MIC's new chair and vice chair, Derek Brooks, and John Hinz. Hosting today's discussion is the marketing director for Slingshot at Polaris, Joey Lindahl. Welcome, Joey.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone on the call here. I am Joey Lindahl. I proudly joined the MIC Board of Directors last year in 2022, and I'm joined today by our new MIC Board Chairman and Vice Chair. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Derek Brooks. Derek was elected Chairman of the MIC Board just in March of this year. He's the motorcycle product line manager for Yamaha Motor Corporation, and he's been active with the board since 2018. Derek, do you want to go ahead and just say a little bit more and introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure, happy to. Good morning and good afternoon anywhere yet? I guess it is where I'm at. So good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Joey, thank you for the introduction. This is going to be, I think, a great opportunity to share some ideas, some thoughts, some of the kind of direction that we see, at least for the industry. A little bit about myself. I guess you could say quite literally grew up in the motorcycle industry. My father started a dealership back in, I think it was 1973. So I remember being, I don't know what age I would have been, but I remember making $1.75 an hour sweeping floors. And that was my, instead of an allowance, I guess that was my allowance. Eventually, working my way through, official tire changer, and I know my way around a tire machine. I can guarantee you that. But eventually into service, eventually parts, and even sales. And then it, once I had finished my degree, I moved on to the corporate side of things, starting at Yamaha US in '97. I was hired in the product planning division, and that was really, I think, quite formative for my career because I really learned a lot about strategy creation and really working on new conceptual ideas. So it really helped me to become more of a critical thinker. And so that was, again, very, very formative for me. And then eventually moved on to a marketing role within the company, and now my current role as the motorcycle product line manager, which I'm responsible for all motorcycle business strategy and operations for the US. And I do want to give a quick shout out to my father's dealership. It's actually on its third owner now, but it's still this name of it is still Brooks Yamaha, and they're celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. So if you guys are out there, congratulations.
That's super exciting. Congrats. And awesome to have you as our chair. Very excited to have you in this role. Next, I want to bring John Hinz into the conversation. So John was elected vice chair of the board this same year as well, in the same election that Derek was elected. John's the CEO of KTM North America. He's been active with the board since 2016. So John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hello, everyone. Hello, Joey. Derek, great to be on the call with you, and thank you for everyone that's joining us out there. As Joey mentioned, I'm newly elected vice chair of the MIC board, but I've been working with the MIC for actually quite some time. And I think Derek gave a nice background on himself and just a few notes about how I got into the industry and then connection to the MIC. But as a young child, I fell in love with motorcycles. My cousins had some motorcycles. We had a little hobby farm, and they were riding out on our farm. And I knew I had to have one of these, knew I had to experience this. And they would never let me ride them because they were too fast. And finally, I actually bought one used from them. And my other cousins got some. And so we all rode together and grew up on snowmobiles, ATVs, and dirt bikes. And one memory that sticks out for me is I remember going to our local dealership. Derek mentioned growing up in one. I went to our local dealership at the time. It was called the Metropolitan Hitching Post in South St. Paul, Minnesota. And I absolutely adored that experience, like to see all these brand new motorcycles and products and we would buy a couple parts for my dirt bike, and I remember thinking there has to be someone that sells these motorcycles to a dealership, and that has to be the greatest job in the world to be able to do that. So you know, it's really almost like a lifelong dream, and such a cool memory from a young child to grow up and be a part of the industry and be a part of the MIC and lead it forward. So much like Derek, had a number of different roles throughout my career in the industry, and actually started in the business as a district sales manager with Yamaha, and got to know Derek, worked in dealer network there, and then came over to KTM, and have had a number of different roles in sales, marketing, product management, and now leading the organization here. So it's an honor to be part of the MIC. I've actually served a number of different roles with the MIC on their technical committee, the Right Rider Access Fund board, and now on the MIC board since 2017, and now vice chair, working with Derek. So it's great to be here today. Looking forward to the conversation and helping to grow the sport that we all love.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while as well. I think it's a really good opportunity to get folks a little bit more exposure to who we are, right? And introduce the leadership to everybody here joining us today. And I think what an awesome story you told about, even at a young age, knowing that, like, hey, somebody's got to have this for a job, and that's the best job ever. I think there's a lot of that talking to folks at places like AIM, and just through day-to-day being in the industry. We're all pretty lucky to have the cool jobs that we have and get to take some of our passions to work every day. That's very cool. So during this conversation, Derek and John and I are just really looking forward to covering some of the priorities that we have as MIC, giving everybody a better sense of who we are and where the opportunities lie for MIC, and just talking about some of the member benefits that MIC has to offer. So let's start with this. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be at AIM this year. AIM Expo is something that I love to attend, and I just couldn't make it work this past February, but I've heard really good things about how it went. And I know both of you were there and participated in a panel discussion with some of the other board of directors, covering a whole host of different topics. But I'm hoping we can dig a little bit deeper into some of that today. To start, though, I'd love to just hear about each of your experiences at AIM. Derek, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I think overall, I was really impressed with the, I guess you could say, the vibe or the atmosphere, the level of engagement and excitement amongst the crowd this year at the show. You know, I mean, let's be honest, last year, I think there was still a lot of trepidation regarding, you know, in-person events, especially in big groups and travel and all that. But this year, you could tell there was a lot of excitement for the industry to, I think, maybe just get out and get back to getting at it. I mean, it really was evident there. There seemed to be, for sure, an eagerness to get together with like-minded peers, you know, just to discuss what we're all seeing in the industry, what trends we're seeing, how consumers are changing, as well as sharing best practices. You know, I think there's also, of course, the benefit of making new connections, and you can see that happening and talking to people after. It seemed to be very proactive in that realm, you know, especially whether it's a dealership or a manufacturer or a supplier. You know, I've heard lots of great stories after about making these new connections from kind of the B2B aspect. So that was really encouraging. You know, there's still a lot of unknown as we're moving, you know, kind of on past and hopefully, I hate when people say back to normal, because the normal probably will never be normal again. But anyway, you know, kind of back to business as usual. But there certainly is a big benefit to getting together and conversing and sharing perspectives with each other.
Absolutely. John, how about you?
Yeah, I loved it this year. Just to add to a couple of Derek's points, when you walked into the AIM event this year, there was like a buzz and electricity. There was an energy that was there, and it was really, again, the industry coming together. And what I love about that event, especially this year, it was the leaders in the industry that were coming together to connect, to talk about where it's headed, what's happening in the industry, what are the opportunities that we have, how can we continue to grow the industry together. Of course, there's always challenges in business in any industry, but at an event like that, you have the collective power of the industry together. And when that happens, there's some pretty special things that can come out of that. And that was one of the things that I loved about it, was seeing all of the OEMs there, seeing all the aftermarket, the leaders. We had dealers that came from all across the nation, and were coming up and talking to myself and our staff and the entire group and industry that were there. And they were telling us, like, I came here to talk to you, and I want to find out what you think and where you're going and where you see the industry going. And that happened collectively as a group. So it was a really, I think, important event for us. As Derek mentioned, there was, I think, excitement to come back together and be in person and share ideas and collectively move the industry forward. And that's what it's there for. And it was great that we had so many attendees and such a great turnout. And it's going to continue to grow. It's a great opportunity for all of us to be together.
Absolutely. And I think you're both right. Now more than ever before, I think we all can appreciate being able to be back together and make those connections, right? And really see the value of that. Talking about getting the industry together, we think about the MIC overall. Can each of you speak a little bit about how you see MIC supporting the industry? What value do you see MIC bringing to the industry?
Sure, I can jump in real quick. Yeah, there's a number of things. You know, I've been involved, maybe not participating on the board, so to speak, but involved with the MIC and the information provided my entire career, almost 26 years now. And I'm still at awe in learning about new data that's available, that's provided by the MIC. It's a huge value that all of us can use to make better decisions and guide our business, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. From an MIC perspective, like the mission statement of the MIC, preserve, protect, and promote. And I love the mission statement, and there's value that the MIC as an industry council brings to the entirety of it. Preserve and protect, there's the data that Derek mentioned. I think we can touch on how we use that and how that helps support our business and business decisions. There's the technical committee. I mentioned that was my first connection to the MIC, was being part of the technical committee and understanding the technical regulations inside our industry and how we can together make sure that we're meeting all of those regulations. We're creating regulations that support business and support environment, support the next generation product. The GR side of things, government relations, is so important. The industry that we have is regulated, and having a voice in DC is critical for our industry, and the MIC does an incredible job with that. There's a team of people in DC that actively work on it every single day, and I think those are the preserve and protect parts of the MIC, and then the promote side is activating the industry for the future. So ridership and bringing new riders into our industry and giving them an opportunity to connect with our product, our brands, and growing the sport. So that's the value that the MIC brings, and the membership supports that. And having the entire industry behind it and being a member of the MIC is critical because of all of the value that the MIC brings.
Yeah, I, as a relatively new board member, I'll say that those ideals of preserve, protect, promote, I've been very impressed as we've met and as I've seen the MIC act over the past year and a half or so that I've been part of this group, how those really are core pillars to every decision that gets made and every action that we take. I've been impressed and grateful to see that being part of the industry.
Hey, just one more comment on that. You know, yeah. I think you know, it's really important. I think this topic alone is super important part of today's discussion. Many of you online that are listening, you're already members. Some of you may not be, but especially for the members, I think it's clearly not a sales pitch to get you to join, but I think what's really important is that we all understand the tools that we have available to us. And so I think that's something that personally I want to try to improve, is just understanding what's here at the MIC that's available for you, and of course for non-members. Yeah, for sure, we want to clearly articulate the value that's provided by joining the MIC.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. Why should companies join MIC?
What I think Derek started it out perfectly. His family store, the family business, has been there for 50 years, and we want to see Brooks Yamaha go another 50 years. That's the goal, and the preserve, protect, promote mission statement of the MIC allows that to happen. It's been standing for dealers in the industry and the aftermarket and OEMs for over 100 years. The MIC has been, and the goal is to make sure that the industry and the business thrives, and we have the ability to take it another 50 and 100 years, and it continues to grow and thrive. And I think that example of your family's dealership is why the MIC is here. And in addition to that, then there's all the resources that the MIC provides. And Derek, you kind of kicked it off with data. I think that's one of the most important value propositions of the MIC, is all of the OEMs coming together and on a regular basis supplying all of the retail data to the MIC. The MIC collects all that information and puts it back out into the market in a way that changes data to information that businesses, dealerships, the industry can use to make better business decisions. I know clearly one of the things that we regularly use is all of the retail data that's available to our members. It's available on a quarterly basis in different segments, and it shows segments that are growing, where things are selling, the opportunities that are out there. And there's the MIC Motorcycle ATV Owner Survey, and that one has a full litany of demographics, interests, the consumer that's actually purchasing the product, the background on them. So who can you target as a business that's in the industry, and who's buying our products, how they're using them, when they're using them. The MIC Tire Sales Report, another critical piece of data on usage. So one is retail, who's buying, how many are they buying, and then actually using the product. And the tire report shows how many tires are being sold, who's riding, and what's happening out in the real world out there. The advisory and forecasts that the MIC provides. So there's this collective think tank of OEM aftermarket dealers that are coming together and providing guidance, as well as the MIC hiring outside consultants to give their view on the data that we have. So this is how one of the ways that the MIC provides value in just that one area of data, and how the industry can use it to make really good, strong business decisions and grow the business further.
Yeah, I think those are great points. Talking about all of that data, I think we can all agree that the industry is facing some really interesting opportunities, and has also faced some very real challenges over the past couple of years. We've got a lot of opportunity ahead of us. As the industry's association, what do you see as the MIC's role in really shaping the future and coming after all of this opportunity that we've got ahead of us? What do you see the MIC's role there? How can we help? Derek, I'll kick it to you first.
Well, I think John, at kind of a macro level, touched on it. Preserve, protect, promote. So I think we're clearly focused on continuing that very direct focus. Especially the GR, the government relations aspect of it, is extremely vital for sure. Sure, a lot of the bigger companies, the OEMs, they have their own GR team and staff, but having a strong government relations office within the MIC is extremely vital to the strength of our industry. So standing together on issues is much more powerful than trying to go at it alone. And Scott and the whole GR team do a wonderful job. You know, they quite literally are boots on the ground, you know, in DC, but also at the state level.
More like dress shoes on the ground out in DC.
Fair enough.
But even at the state level, you know, whether it's, you know, right to repair, PFAS, which is becoming a big topic now, land access for sure has always been a topic and will continue to be, tariffs. So they are absolutely vital to the success of this industry moving forward. And it's something as members that we really, I was going to say should leverage, but also should support and be in contact with as much as we can.
You know, just to add to that, the powers in the collective in DC. I've been there quite a few times in support of the industry and different I would say government regulatory issues that have come up for either the industry or our business. And the powers in the collective, and the powers also in the individual. And when you go to DC, congressional members, they want to hear from their local district. They want to hear from the Main Street business. They want to hear from their local district on what's happening and how they can help support them. And so there's power in the collective, the sheer number of people, but then there's also power in the individual. And to be engaged and be involved is critical, and it makes a difference when they hear that individual voice and how the regulations or their decisions may impact constituents in their district. That absolutely makes a difference. So
Absolutely.
The membership of the MIC is critical, both in the collective as well as the individual.
Yeah. So we've been talking a little bit about the value that the MIC brings to the industry and how we can support the industry. But let's drill down a little bit more, since you're both new in these positions within the board. Let's talk a bit about, you know, we all have full-time jobs and lives outside of work. We're all busy. We've got a lot going on. Let's talk about why it's important to us individually to serve on the board. So Derek, I'll start with you. Why is it important to you to serve on the board and now as chair? What does that mean to you?
Well, I first of all, I think it's truly a great honor. And yes, it is voluntary. I've had a lot of people ask me how well it pays, and I have to remind them it's a voluntary position, but I'm very happy to do it. It's an amazing time in our industry right now. We've gone through, gosh, I mean, again, growing up in dealership, I went through the 80s and 90s. So a lot of us have seen the ups and downs post global financial crisis, and then some nice, long, steady recovery past that. But especially right now, we have seen such an insurgence of new riders, and not only that, but returning riders, people that have kind of reignited that flame over the last 3 or 4 years now. And to me, it's really kind of reignited my passion from kind of the aspect of we've got this opportunity. What are we going to do with it? And not saying that I have the answer or that I'm the best person to lead any kind of strategy or direction, but I certainly have opinions, like many of us. And I think it's an exciting opportunity and an exciting challenge that I see for myself. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we're glad to have you. John, how about you? Can you talk a little bit about what it means to you to serve as vice chair and why it's important for you?
Yeah, for sure. As Derek mentioned, and we actually talked about it early on, it's an honor to be nominated for it and to serve the industry. From my perspective, it's our responsibility. So being on the MIC board, it's our responsibility as leaders in the industry to make sure that we are protecting the industry and we are promoting it and leading it forward and growing it. We talked about it. I've been in the industry actively working in it for for 23 years and been an enthusiast, professional enthusiast. I heard that term the other day. I've been a professional enthusiast for a long time, since I was a little kid, and I think it's our responsibility. The industry has provided an incredible way for me to do what I love. We come in and we just talk about motorcycles every day with our friends, and our employees are our friends, dealers are our friends, the group on the MIC board, and what an amazing way to live and work in an industry that we're passionate about, that we love, and I want to carry that forward. And I think that's our responsibility, to make sure that the industry continues to thrive and is here for the next 50 and 100 years and continuing to grow, and that's why I do it. Like Derek said, this job doesn't pay particularly well. It's definitely voluntary, but we love it. We love it. We're passionate about it, and it'll pay dividends if we do a good job collectively as an industry. It's going to be amazing for all of us moving forward.
I love that you used that word responsibility, because I certainly feel that as well. And I think I don't want to speak for all the board members, but I think it goes without saying that we all feel that responsibility, right? To really act in the best interest. And we've been given this amazing opportunity within our roles, like you said, and it's our responsibility to do the best we can to keep the industry moving forward. I know myself in particular, I have a very different background than the two of you. I did not grow up around motorcycles, and really my career in the power sports industry is only about 10 and a half years. So compared to both of you, that's not nearly as long. I didn't start riding until about 10 years ago. It wasn't something that I really felt was available to me. It wasn't something that I grew up thinking was an option for someone like me. And once I was given the opportunity to start riding and experienced what we now all know is like one of the greatest joys of life, right? Immediately became hooked. And it's opened up so many opportunities and made my world so much bigger and brighter. So for me, it was truly an honor. And I definitely felt that responsibility, both to be a voice for someone who maybe hasn't been a rider their entire lives, to speak for them and to act with them in mind with the board, and then also just to be the voice of so many women riders out there. I'm very, very proud to be a woman on the board of MIC and to be able to bring that perspective and thinking as we think about how we move the industry forward. It's important that we think about that huge percentage of women who ride out there, and that we're including them in the conversation. And I'm just truly grateful to be that person.
For sure.
With that in mind, talking about new ridership, we are really seeing over the past few years new riders coming in. How can we as an industry support those new riders? How do we pull returning riders back in, and how do we keep people riding? I know those are three big questions, but they're all kind of tangled together. So I'll say it one more time, and then Derek, I'll kick it to you first. But how do we support all these folks who are starting to ride for the first time? How do we pull people back in as returning riders? And then how do we just, as an industry, help to keep people riding?
Yeah, that seems to be the $1 million question right now that we've, I know I've had this discussion numerous times. I think there are many efforts in progress right now, and many are doing actually, I think, a really good job. I think there's a lot of dealers and OEMs that are supporting learn to ride efforts or demo rides, et cetera. However, I think we just need more to take up the effort. And I think to some degree, perhaps combining the efforts, which, I think we're going to talk about, the MIC Learn to Ride initiative a little bit as part of our discussion today. But I think what's really, I guess, kind of, I don't know, in a way, a little bit amazing to me about our industry is the level of excitement or interest we have from non-riders. And we've all had the conversation on an airplane or somewhere where you have a jacket or a shirt on, where they talk to you about I've always wanted to learn to ride a motorcycle. And I think what's super critical is for us to understand what has been the barriers of entry, what has kept them from making that leap. And you know, of course, there's a lot of obvious reasons, just the fear of how do I, you know, it seems difficult. Like, how can I possibly do that? A lot of unknown of where to start. Where do you even go to even begin to learn about how to begin to learn to ride a motorcycle? The trepidation about skill level. Like, well, I can barely ride a bicycle. I could never ride a motorcycle. And I think once we understand those barriers to entry in kind of their simplest form, that can give us some insight on how to break through. I don't think it's so difficult, honestly. I think a lot of us already have the answers, like I said before, with demo rides and learn to ride efforts, but again, maybe combining our efforts and a little more strength in numbers. You know, I was thinking about the kind of the numbers the other day, and if we could add just 100,000 more riders to our industry, our sport, that would be immense. And you know, 100,000 seems like a big number. However, if we think about the population of the U.S. is what, 335 million people. So we're only talking about I did the math, 0.03%. So not 1%, not 0.3, but 0.03% of the population. So it's a big number, 100,000, but why not? Why not? You know, I think it's very attainable as a target. And I mentioned it before, but we have some tools that the MIC has been working on with the Ride With Us initiative. There's a website that was launched earlier on, or this year, or just recently, within the last couple of years, and that's really trying to kind of address that one trepidation around how do I even begin? Where do I start? And it's really trying to focus on giving them a portal from non-riding world into this world that we all love and enjoy so much.
John, what do you think about, Derek did a great job talking about how we get new riders riding. And what do you think about really keeping people riding or pulling folks who haven't ridden in years for one reason or another back into the sport?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you mentioned it at the beginning, or when you first asked the question. Everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
So it's all together, and Derek did a great job on talking about the key points there. And for me, it's a passion industry. We all have a passion for what we do, why we do it, and everyone that you talk to that's been riding for a long time, they absolutely love it. And we got into riding via someone else. So I told my story of my cousins. My dad was also a rider. There's, you know, pictures of me as a very young child sitting on his old Bonneville, and Derek grew up in a motorcycle dealership. And Joy, I'm sure you were introduced by someone to the sport. Like you don't just find it and get on a motorcycle or a power sports product on your own. And I think as a passion industry, it's experiential, and finding people that are connected to it. Like Derek said, you get on an airplane with a team shirt on, and you get these questions, and I want to do it, and we have to connect those people that are interested to people that are already riders, and that happens in a lot of different ways in our industry. Very clearly, one of the best ways is through our dealers across the United States. But events are another great way. The experience that they have at an event. Both Derek and I were just in Austin, Texas for MotoGP. So seeing the best road racers in the world, essentially the highest form of motorcycle racing anywhere. And Supercrosses this year are completely sold out. So the number of people that are going to races as a fan, bringing their neighbor along, or bringing their friends along, and having them see it for the first time as a first step in, watching it on TV, connecting the casual motorcyclists or the prospective motorcyclists to the sport via racing or events like that is a first step. The MIC has the Ride With Us campaign, as well as the Moto Intro experience. So it's a very short duration connection, sit on a motorcycle and understand quickly controls and have a 10-15 minute experience to start that fire, start that passion, connect them to the sport. I think the technology that's now coming is actually changing the industry. Derek mentioned some barriers to entry. They've been there, but technology is changing some of that with technology in motorcycles or in power sports and making them much easier, or taking away some of those barriers. Electric is changing a lot of those things for our industry. It's going to be part of the future. Internal combustion is still going to be there, and clutches and shifting, and there's a legacy connection to that, but technology is changing some of those things, which are providing different access points for people that are interested in the sport and helping to grow it. So we see that as a huge opportunity, just the evolution of technology and crossover products that are connecting enthusiasts to motorcycling or to power sports.
So you both mentioned those first ride experiences that the MIC is doing. And not to lead the witness here, but I think it's a great idea, and I think it's really interesting, because I know personally, as someone who started riding late, even sometimes just going and taking the course can feel intimidating, because you're going to be getting on a bike for the first time in front of a bunch of other people, and it's a educational format, so there's literally someone there to judge and watch every single thing you're doing. Like, that can even be a little bit intimidating. And those first ride experiences, it feels a little bit less scary, right? And really just that introduction sort of format where it's a little bit more casual. Can you guys talk a bit about how important you think those first ride experiences are to ultimately converting possible riders into lifetime riders?
Yeah, I can touch on that. We're talking about the Ride With Us initiative and first ride experiences. Maybe we should back up just a bit and kind of explain to make sure everyone's understanding what we're even talking about. So Ride With Us is essentially the kind of the call to action, kind of the drive of this initiative that we have, trying to get more people riding and more often. One way to do that is to introduce more people to riding, and to do that, gosh, how long has it been going on now? The Moto Intro experiences, just over more than a year now, right?
Yeah. Yep. 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 years. And what these are truly first experience opportunity with a motorcycle. So I think a lot of us in the industry, we're real good at going to events, as OEMs, as dealers, to power sports shows and expos, having units on display, having demos. But to people that aren't going to a motorsports or a power sports type of event, they're never going to see that. So really trying to reach out to non-endemic events or activities, and having the interface with these people. There may be 20,000 people in an event, and less than 1% of them may have any interest at all, but we'll take that 1%. I'm making that number up. That's not real data, but I guess my point is, if they see, hey, what is this? I've always kind of been curious about riding a motorcycle. This initiative, this Moto Intro experience, I think has been really valuable at reaching those people that have been kind of motorcycle curious, so to speak. We've seen in the data that, sure, obviously they made the decision to get on, like you said, learn to excel and brake and clutch and so forth. But what we've seen from the data is the follow-up after. They're ready to make the next step and go learn how to ride, whether it's MSF or what have you. But there really is a direct connection from that first experience to eventually becoming an enthusiast.
You catch the bug pretty quick, right? I think we all know that all it takes is getting on it and feeling comfortable for a second, and then you feel like a superhero, and that's all you want to do. So you're right. I think it's a very easy connection once we can just get them to try it in a much more approachable way than just expecting somebody to sign up for a course right out of the gate. Love that.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity now is to, as I think we touched on this earlier, the opportunity really is to expand this and take it from a macro more to a granular level. And we encourage any input or feedback that any of you would have. How can we make this more, I guess, broad sweeping, not just an MIC staff only going out and doing this? How can we integrate this into dealership activities, OEM activities, that sort of thing? So any feedback that you have, don't hesitate to follow up after.
Well, you read my mind, so I'll kick this one to John first. Do you see a world where dealers and aftermarket brands play a role in these types of experiences and driving people to, first ride experiences?
Absolutely. It's the collective power of our industry, and that's what the MIC does. Is the membership comes together. There's a clear vision that we want to grow the industry together, and then tools and resources to help do that. Motorcycling, it's a journey. Everyone's at a different stage. The journey never ends. It starts with that initial thought. Motorcycle curious, as Derek said. I haven't heard that term, but I like it.
I'm going to use it now.
It starts with that. But that first moment, that first spark, where that passion starts to set in, that starts the journey, and the journey never ends. And everyone has a role in the journey and helping to grow our industry and grow our sport. And the MIC is an absolute contributor in helping to lead that forward. But everyone has a role, especially the dealers around the country. The dealers are the last 3 feet. That's where the consumer comes in and really connects to the sport, the brands, the products, the information, the education. That's the connection point. So the dealer network is vital, and for us, it's everything. That's where the consumer, their customer, actually connects to brands and products in our industry. One of the things that I also believe is the industry has created almost completely new segments again that are helping support this. So if you look at the product that's now available from the entire industry, the opportunity to engage as a new rider with 125 street product, 200 street product, 300, 400 class, 500 class product. This is all entry level to the sport, but really high end. So high technology, incredibly reliable. The industry's found a way to make it very affordable, and incredible entry points for people that are excited about continuing the journey. So once that spark is lit, how do you get involved, and what product do you buy? Not only from the motorcycle perspective, but also the proper gear in terms of protection and fit and comfort, and service levels on the motorcycles have been extended. So everyone's trying to take away those historic barriers and make it easier. And I think the industry's done an incredible job, and the dealers play probably the most important part in the process, because they're the connection. They're helping the consumer fall in love with the sport and connecting a community. They're the local community that's putting on events and rides and creating a very welcoming environment for consumers to come to and learn about the next level and how do they continue to move forward in their journey with motorcycling or power sports.
Yeah, and stay engaged, right? As we think about knowing that the best way to keep people to stay engaged is to have people to ride with, for places to go on rides together. That's where that dealership community is so important to that piece of it, for sure. Okay, so let's look to the future a little bit. The past few years have been interesting for all of us. We've all learned how to do a lot more Zoom calls. We've learned to figure out all sorts of things living in this new world. It's been interesting. At a high level, can each of you talk a little bit about your outlook for the next couple of years? Are you excited? Do you see opportunity? Just give us a quick overview of where you see things going. And Derek, I'll kick this one to you first.
Sure. To talk about the future, well, first of all, none of us know the future. So all you can do is make your best prediction based on what you know and what you've seen and what you see changing and progressing along the way. And you hope to connect the dots and be able to draw a vector line and say, all right, this is the future. But again, it's all just our best guess. But I think looking back, we've seen major changes in our industry in the last 20 years. You know, pre global financial crisis, it was really sort of money no object, and whatever it costs, whatever that luxury toy is, we're all going to buy it. You know, a lot of us bought, you know, whether it's power sports or marine or RVs and so forth. But there was, you know, a lot of great spending. Then of course, as global financial crisis happened, that certainly changed things, and it didn't just change not just the result of people buying less, you know, our industry roughly, let's just say roughly half the size of what it was pre-GFC, but it changed the behaviors and mindset of buyers, not just of our product, of all product. But I think we've especially seen that within our industry, you know, as the market began to stabilize, you know, and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and really even starting to come back, especially in key segments. It's been extremely healthy. But of course, all along, there's been a lot of questions of, you know, what's going to happen with the industry. So from one aspect, I'm extremely encouraged to see this continued strength. We're not seeing a lot of this, you know, in the industry post GFC. So that's really awesome to see, a steadiness. But also, again, these opportunities we're seeing in certain segments for sure. I think John mentioned it earlier, but a lot of the small CC stuff, you know, it used to be if you didn't have a 1,000 CC, whatever it is, then, you know, it's not even considered. Now 125s, 250s, 200s, as you said, it's becoming, and I guess to backtrack on myself a little bit, I guess what we definitely saw is that just the mindset has changed to make much wiser purchase decisions. And I don't think it's changed so much in the last 5 or 10 years, especially now with economic situation where it's at. People are just trying to make wiser decisions. Let's all be honest. We're not in the automotive industry. You know, to have a motorcycle in a lot of cases is a necessary thing, maybe more mentally than physically. I like to think that the 7 motorcycles I have are very necessary. Okay, maybe not that many, and a lot of them are old vintage bikes. But anyway, but I think the key point though is that it's hard in today's world, I think, from a mindset perspective, to justify having that one touring bike, that one dirt bike, that all these different bikes for very specific reasons. People are buying, I think, much more, I hate the word frugally, but I think more wisely, and maybe realizing they don't need the most expensive bike to show off to their friends, like we saw, you know, 20 years ago, for example. So we're seeing some industry, or I should say some segments, really thriving. Dual purpose, for example, adventure touring dual purpose bikes. Those have been, if you look at the data, those have been astronomical growth for years consistently. So that's really, I think, encouraging for us and for what I see. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
John, how about you?
Yeah, we see things very similarly to what Derek was mentioning. Right now, there's tremendous opportunity in our industry. It's also why we're excited to have our new roles in the MIC board and help lead it forward. As Derek mentioned, there's segments that are absolutely booming right now. Adventure touring are one of them. Dual sport. I talked about small displacement street earlier. Also, over the last couple of years, we saw play bikes or small trail bikes explode. Literally, that segment doubled in a year or two, and that's the future. So when we think about the future of the industry, who's coming in, and what age are they, what demographic are they, what's happening with families. So I got into this sport through my father, through my cousins, and when trail bikes and play bikes are sold, you don't sell one, you sell 2 and 3, and then you also sell or engage, someone that's older, someone that's taking care of them, bringing them to the track or out to a riding area. So you've got families that are enjoying the sport, connecting other families to it, and that's the future of the sport. Because a play bike or a trail bike will lead to, I want to go a little faster, maybe I want to start racing, and that leads to the next motorcycle, the next step in the journey. It's the same with street. So small displacement street, what an incredible spot for growth in our industry, especially dual sport. That's part of the journey of motorcycling, and to see growth in those segments for us definitely presents the opportunity for a very, very bright and sustainable future for our industry and in all of our businesses. So there's huge opportunities there. And then of course, all of the consumers that connected either back to or started their journey in motorcycling through the last couple of years, and keeping them engaged in events and part of the community, the things that we talked about earlier. That's all critical to success and such a huge opportunity for us all.
You touched on the changing variety of types of people who are riding. And I just want to say that's one of the things that's so exciting for me looking to the future for this industry overall, is the opportunity as the breadth of types of product are coming to market. It just really does open up the sport to more people who haven't necessarily felt that it was an option for them, given where they live or their experience or background. I think we are seeing so many new types of people engaging in the sport, which is so exciting as we think about future growth. Very, very exciting there.
Yep.
One last question, because I know we're coming up to our time. The MIC DC fly-in is next week, and all 3 of us are going. Hopefully, many folks who are joining us today will be there as well. What issues are you looking forward to discussing with the lawmakers there, and what do you think our policymakers need to know about the industry?
Eric, you want to take it? Or you want me to grab it?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll grab it. I've been out. I mentioned before that I've been out there a number of times, and I know the impact that we can have as an industry when we get in front of congressional members. And Scott Schlegel does an amazing job. Scott and the team out there making this happen and making these connections for us. I think there's a number of critical points. So on my list that I'd like to talk to congressional members on behalf of the industry. The California red sticker confusion is a hot topic out here for all of our dealers in the industry in California. Keeping riding areas open and making sure that our consumers have clarity about where they can ride, what they can ride, what they can do. It's having an impact on our industry today. We can feel that as an industry and from our dealers, and we need clarity with that regulation. We've been supporting the last 2 bills that were we attempted to pass here in the state that didn't get passed, and we need resolution on that. The right to repair, Derek had mentioned that earlier.
Oh, I think we maybe lost John. Derek, do you want to weigh in with some thoughts here quick?
Apologies. Yeah, sure. I'll weigh in if John comes back. He can step back in where he was at. But yeah, this fly-in in unfortunately, if you're hearing about it just now, the registration is closed. However, it's certainly a great opportunity that happens every year, and I strongly encourage everyone to jump in next year. It's an awesome chance. If you think about, we talked about a little bit earlier, individually, we can make change. Like John said, it can go to the individual level, but our voices certainly are stronger when we go at it from a very organized approach of having some key topics. Yes, one individual voice to one member of Congress is very important, but I think what's really valuable of this specific activity is the MIC and the government relations team really does a great job of herding us together, as an industry, quite literally leads us around the Capitol and has specific talking points unless you have something specific that you want to cover. So they really make it as unbelievably easy to interact. So I strongly encourage, don't be intimidated by this at all. It's really an easy process. And again, it's an opportunity we really all should be taking advantage of if time permits. So strongly encourage next year when you see the invites for registration, don't hesitate, you should do it for sure. John, looks like you're back.
All right. Clearly, when we started talking about government regulations, the government cut down our our broadband.
Yeah, throttle.
Infiltrated. Where did I get cut off?
We lost you. You were talking about like making sure that there's access and clear access for where folks are riding, and I think that's right around the time that you got cut off.
In California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. Okay. So California red sticker clarity is an important topic. Right to repair. Derek had mentioned it earlier. That's an ongoing topic, and we're as an industry, we're all heavily involved there. In general, environmental regulations and compliance is always a topic that I talk to congressional members about how we can make sure that we're compliant, but also they're working more closely with us. Their speed and efficiency over the past year or two has not been, their level of service, I would say, to our industry has been difficult. So that's a topic. Recreational riding areas in general across the United States, making sure that we've got protected areas that our consumers and our industry and all of us can enjoy. And also expansion, tax support, small business support for our own businesses and dealers across the country, and making sure that they know that we're employing people, we're contributing, everyone's paying taxes, and our business is expanding together, our industry is expanding, and we want to continue to do that, but we need their congressional support to continue expanding business and industry. So those are some of the key topics. I caught the end of Derek's comments there. I've been in DC a number of times and over some big issues with taxes and tariffs on our products, and some broader global tax issues and tariff issues. And I can tell you that the best thing that we all can do is make connections and make friends with congressional members before you need them. And we're all going to need them. There's always a regulation with unintended consequences, and the best time to get that help and support when those unintended consequences come forward is make sure that you've got a strong relationship ahead of that. So being part of the fly-in and being part of the MIC voice, the industry voice, and supporting what Scott and the team are doing out there on a daily basis is really critical to our future. So I would highly encourage everyone to take a look at it, be involved. If you can make it next week, come and join us. Love to have your voice out there with us and protect the future of our business. Agreed.
And with that, the time has flown by. So thank you both for the great discussion. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Really appreciate the conversation today. And Lee, I think you've got just a couple of quick reminders for us.
I sure do. Thanks so much, Joey and Derek and John. Fantastic conversation today. Next month, we hope you all join us for our next symposium with a focus on the power sports aftermarket, featuring MIC Board Director Tim Calhoun, President of Tim Calhoun Power Sports Consulting, and Chair of the MIC Aftermarket and Allied Trades Committee. It happens on Thursday, May 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific. Check your inboxes in the coming days for details on that, or always visit micsymposium.com for the latest on what we have coming up. Well, thank you everyone for joining so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Thanks, Joey. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Lee.
Sure. Thank you.